Well, welcome back to Gopher's Workshop. I'm your host, Aaron, and joining me, as always, is my fellow host, Chris. You don't know how to handle that one.
He had the dumbest look on his face when he said my name.
Chris. You were complaining about how high-pitched and hyperactive I am. I did it as depressing as I could.
First off, when I said get on my level...
Oh my God. All right, Chris. We're talking about knights today, right?
The gray version.
The gray version. And we ain't talking about the ones you didn't paint. You know how many gray knight memes I've seen in the last week and a half?
I mean, we could have called them silver knights. I don't know why we didn't, but whatever.
That was stolen by all of medieval mythology. And it just sounds stupid.
I let you on this podcast every week.
Oh my God, the shots are fired. Anyway, tell me about our not so anti-psyker guys.
Speaking of shots fired, it turns out Grey Knights, you know, where they always have like a kind of bad Stormbolter strapped to the wrist and then like a crazy melee weapon.
Yeah.
Now we're shooting. So
no more melee.
Shots fired. That's what we're doing. So army rule is the same. Still have uppy downy. It's still 3 for strike force. Solid stuff. It just says Grey Knights unit. Keep in mind, this is a standalone codex. We are not pulling from regular Marine stuff. That being said, it says Grey Knights. In theory, an uppy downy anything, including your Land Raider. Now, okay, and this is specifically, I had a discussion on this the other day. The uppy downy rules, and this is like all of them for the most part, say you're uppying into strategic reserves, not into deep strike.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you come out of strategic reserves, if have deep strike, get to deep strike.
Yeah.
So you can uppy the Land Raider, but it's actually strategic reserves, not deep striking. Now, your Grey Knights, like everything but the Land Raider, as deep strike. So you're still deep striking, but.
Yeah, but how scary would it be for the Land Raider to just go up after I've got all these charges and stuff ready to go? And
you want the Land Raider to just appear somewhere it shouldn't be?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's go to a detachment.
No. Oh, we're starting off strong today. We just went right into this.
So the Sanctic Spearhead.
Oh boy.
Is one of the detachments, and it is designed around vehicles. Hooray!
Okay.
Right? They've got Land Raiders. They got the planes. They got all the planes. They got some dreadnoughts. Dread Knights are vehicles. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
Good detachment. Okay.
Is this our competitive one?
I like it. I'm not saying it's the most competitive, but it's one of the two that I think are the best. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to argue when I play this, it's the Dread Knight detachment. Okay. Dread Knights and more Dread Knights and Grandmaster Dread Knights. Dread Knights.
Oops, all Dread Knights. Got it.
So the detachment is whenever a Grey Knight's vehicle does an advance, it does an auto 6 instead of rolling.
Okay.
In addition, all of its ranged weapons have assault. Decent.
Okay.
So Dread Knight's auto 6 plus gain assault. Solid. Here's a secret. Some of them have advance and charge. Also, even on like your Land Raider, right? It just, nope, I'm going to advance and then get assault. And that maybe gets me around the corner so I can see your tank on like turn 2. And that's pretty solid. Great detachment. No complaints. There's some solid enhancements. Some of them are restricted, or half of them are restricted to infantry. Now, some of them say like the one says walker only is, again, it's referring to the character Dread Knight.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. So going on to stratagems, there's one that is related to your old Land Raider.
Oh, God.
In your movement phase or charge phase, select one Grey Knight vehicle that has not been selected to move or charge this phase. Until the end of the phase, whenever it makes a normal, advance, or charge move, it can move horizontally through terrain features.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm going to read the flavor text of this one. So the flavor text of this stratagem: a bow wave of psychic force slams ahead of the vehicle, plunging through obstacles or plowing obstacles from its path and forming an invisible bridge over yawning chasms. We're just riding on air. Okay.
Talk about new definition to air suspension.
Yep. So you just want your Land Raider to just plow through that building and say, surprise. And it turns out it says normal move. So if you're like close enough, you could like move through, disembark some Terminators and still charge and get millions of inches. So good. You want your Dread Knight to be like, oh, now I'm an inch away from the wall. You can't touch me. And then your Dread Knight's like, yeah, but I'm going to charge through and go directly through the wall over you and just be on the backside. Oh, look, you're dead. There's a whole bunch about this attachment that is really good. I'm not going to go super in depth to it. I'll go into the other one that I really like more. But I think this one's very straightforward. Almost everything refers to vehicles. Almost everything is good. There's very little about this attachment that's bad. I don't know that there's a thing that I think is like nuts crazy other than like getting to walk through. But we've seen that in like the Guard has a vehicle attachment, lets tanks go through. And so it's not that it's crazy. It's just good. I really like this detachment. Super solid. Going backwards, back to the beginning. The Brotherhood Strike Force. This is the Deep Strike detachment. It's okay. This is a detachment where you get a bunch of benefits whenever you come out of Deep Strike. So it's actively encouraging you to uppy downy all the time, as many as you can, because a bunch of these benefits don't exist unless you came out of Deep Strike. Noteworthy, one of the enhancements is, you know how you only get 3 for Gate of Infinity? The enhancement says as long as this guy's alive, pick 4. So again, Deep Strike all the time. The only problem I have with this, and this is true because, I mean, most people will have felt this before, 9-inch charges kind of suck.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not to say that you're not going to charge things. It's not to say you're not going to get into combat. The big honking swords and staffs and halberds and all that stuff, they're still relevant. But this detachment is effectively encouraging you to, your job is to shoot. If you make it to melee, those are bonuses. The problem I have with that is you need all of these benefits from coming out of Deep Strike, because Grey Knights have Storm Bolters. Yes, the Dread Knights have cool, scary guns, but you got Storm Bolters. You need some benefits because they're not good enough. Do I think this attachment is bad? Kind of. Is it bad enough that like, no, this is the dumpster fire one. Don't play this. It's awful. No, I don't think it's that bad. But I don't think I would ever play this one. It's just, unless your shooting is good enough, which there are factions you could totally do this, right? Like Necrons, uppy downying, and let's say they had a detachment where not only did they get uppy downy, but they got benefits from it. I'm not mad about that because they actually have good shooting. They have a variety where you can choose some tank busting. You can choose some this and that. Grey Knights don't. Do they have tank busting shooting? Yes. Is it enough? Is it able to come out of Deep Strike because these benefits are specific from Deep Strike, not strategic reserves? I don't love this one. Moving on. Hallowed Conclave. This is kind of the opposite. This is the fallback detachment. So the detachment rule is specific to Grey Knight Terminators only. They're eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which they fell back. I don't know why we restricted that to Terminators only. If they would have said non-vehicle to like stop the Dread Knight, I would have totally understood. But like, you're telling me my strike squad falling back and charging would be too much? Anyway, a bunch of enhancements and stratagems have a lot to do with like fallback. I don't know why there's a whole detachment that's kind of built around fallback. There are other things that aren't restricted by that, so it's not like everything is, but this is also kind of a mediocre detachment. I want to say this is slightly better than the other one only because it's encouraging you to be in melee, which is where Grey Knights should be.
Mm-hmm. Because boy howdy, I've dealt with Grey Knight shooting. It's not great.
Yeah. They want to be in melee. They have the big honking hammers and swords, and they're all force weapons, and it's cool. It's good. But you got to get there. And their problems are slow. So they get the teleporting nonsense to make up for that. Sounds great. Well, redeploying, solid mid-game. It doesn't mean that you're getting to use the thing you're supposed to do, which is melee.
Now, all these detachments, do they get uppy downies and all the ones we've discussed?
Yeah, because that's their army rule.
Okay.
So all the detachments get uppy downy. Then on top of that, they get these detachment things.
Bonuses or, okay. All right.
So again, they'll always be somewhat mobile. You're going to be doing 9-inch charges, even on turn 5. Like there's no guaranteed charge. That feels a little rough. But every model's reasonably tough. Every model has got like reasonably good abilities. Every model has a crazy melee weapon. So if they charge you and you live, they're not going to like it. You have some guns. Again, this whole army is, I'm going to argue, a higher skill cap army. You need the ability to prioritize targets. If you do not prioritize targets appropriately, and you have to be able to switch between phases, like shooting phase, my Terminators have a priority. Their guns are crap. So the priority is over here. I got to kill all of the action units and all of the screening units. And then in the melee phase, I totally shift. Like, I don't care if there's one Scout Marine left. I need to be charging that like elite unit. I need to go fight those Terminators. Or I need to go fight those Centurions or whatever, right? Like, this is not an easy army to play, but I don't know that Grey Knights has ever been an easy army to play. So I'm not upset about that. That's just a thing that you have to kind of like come to terms with.
I will say the couple times that I've gone against Grey Knights twice now, and both times it felt very decision making game style. Like everything rides on the decisions you make the last phase for them. And it didn't feel great when they made the wrong choice. And it could be like a simple mistake.
Target priorities with your storm bolters. You make the wrong choices and you just wasted those dice. I don't even know why you shot.
Yeah, it's crazy how they're very, I agree. They're very skill cap oriented.
Now, that being said, I do think because of that, they tend to surprise people a lot. Because you get the player who, whether it's they make the right decisions and they just like surprise you because they're a way better player than you gave them credit for.
Yep.
Or whether it's like they're still a player that's learning, but also they just, we'll say they got lucky and made the right choices like consecutively enough that they will out of nowhere be like, man, I thought I had this in the bag and I kind of came back. How did they do that? It was just like, no, they started making right choices and it turns out Grey Knights are good. They're just not easy to play. So they're very unforgiving. Is kind of the whole theme to this faction.
I had that happen to my Knight Lancer. I was like, no, I'm going to charge into this group of Terminators and it's fine. And I didn't kill enough of them. And I was left with like 14 out of 28 wounds. I'm like, holy crap. That's scary. I got to run away.
Yeah. And again, they're very deceiving because like, you know, you've played against like other Blood Angels players.
Yeah.
That like run Terminators and you're like, but they can't bust a tank. You've got the lightning claws or like they're not that good. Yeah, they got thunder hammers, but they're, you know, it's all right. No, turns out Grey Knights, they get bonus AP. They get a little bonus damage on places. They have, a surprising amount of +1 to wounds that aren't obvious because they're not running like chaplains by name per se.
Yep. Anti-Psyker really surprised me because Mephiston suddenly became less scary real quick.
Yep. So they're very surprising. They catch people off guard a lot, but again, they're not easy to play. So we'll go over another detachment. They have 5 in this codex.
Wow.
It's an odd number, but again, it's standalone codex. So kind of expect 5, 6, 4 at the lowest. But anyway, so the Augurum Task Force. I don't know how to say that. I already know. You don't have to tell me.
Sure. The Augurum Task Force. Got it.
What? I'm moving on. Anyway, this is, I think, the most interesting detachment they have. I'm not saying it's the best. This is the one you thought you got surprised by Grey Knights before. Just wait till you play against this detachment. I'm gonna get you this detachment rule, and you're gonna seem very confused. From the second battle round on, at the start of your movement phase, if you did not select a maximum number of Grey Knight units for your Gate of Infinity, that's uppy downy, ability in the previous turn, you can select 1 Grey Knight unit on the battlefield and put it into strategic reserves. That's at the start of your movement.
So wait. The end of your opponent's
Gate of Infinity is normal uppy downy. At the end of your opponent's turn, I can put up to 3 units.
And then
let's say you put 2 out of 3. Then at the beginning of your movement phase,
you can score objectives and things and then go, cool, I scored it. Bye. Oh my God.
Because the whole command phase, it means a bunch of things, right? You could score an objective and then run away from it. It means you could sticky it and then run away from it. Because you sticky in the command phase. It means you could complete an action. It means you could do all kinds of things. This is a complex detachment. All of its tricks are subtle, which means they don't on paper do enough. But on the table, all those little things are going to add up. And all those little things are going to be like your opponent's like, yeah, no, whatever, that's fine. Wait, how does that work? You still get to score that? But I thought you already did your uppy downy. You're right.
All totally I'm picturing is like sabotage. You draw it last turn. You're like, all right, I'm going to downy this unit into your deployment zone and I'm going to sabotage one of your buildings. You didn't kill enough of me. Well, now I'm going to wait till my next movement phase and then uppy them, scoring sabotage while also getting my unit out of there. Behind enemy lines, there's so many. Oh my God. That's so good.
Yes. Also, this detachment, because it's all about using extra Gate of Infinity, there's a stratagem to just pull a unit and put it into strategic. It's not Gate of Infinity. It's not the same. We just decided another one. Like, it's...
Wait, when can this stratagem be used?
Let me find that specific one. End of your command phase.
So again, you score your points. So you can do this with 2 units.
Yep. More importantly,
oh my God.
More importantly, we'll get to this later. This strike squad, the basic troop, has sticky. You could turn 2, like beginning of turn 2, I sticky like two objectives and then pull both of those up and give up that entire side and go like, no, my opponent decided a strong side like over here. Well, that's fine. I'm going to let him have it. And then I'm going to sticky half the board. And then on turn 2, I'm still in their face. So despite like letting them have a side, I'm giving them all the pressure I could possibly bear. And I control the other half of the board with nothing over them.
You want to know an army that's going to give me the most run for my money with being aggressive frontline Blood Angel player? This one.
The only downside to this whole faction, well, that's the only downside, but the main downside is there is next to no, like, make your charge shorter. So you are solely reliant on that 9-inch charge, praying and hoping like you make it, right? So it's not, there's going to be, and this is part of why I think that this faction is going to be like competitive, but also it's going to be really hard to track appropriately, because if they get lucky and they're like, no, I had 4 9-inch charges on turn 2 and I made 3 out of 4, they roll that game, right? They just absolutely clobber them. And this is amazing. But then you're going to have like another player playing the same list at the same event is going to be like, yep, I also had 4 charges to make on turn 2 and I made none of them. Well, lost that game. Like,
it's a very swingy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you make good target priority, if you're able to like deal with things appropriately and do these little subtle tricks, it's not that you can't come back from that. It's just that like you are already, like this whole game, you're somewhat reliant on the dice, right? If you just only roll once, you're going to lose. But if you're relying on 9-inch charges, the stats are already not in your favor. Are you going to like hard win and look like you're the best Marines out there? Some games, not very many. So you have to kind of start making smarter choices, and you can't just whole hog. But if I make enough 9-inch charges, it'll work out. Don't worry about it. Doesn't work that way.
Holy crap. Okay. No, okay. I can see why that one is really good.
Yep. Not my favorite. Very good though. All right. So last attachment. Here's my favorite. So the Banishers detachment. Each time a Grey Knight unit from your army is selected to fight, it can take a leadership test. If it's passed, select one of the following. Ready for these non-existent restrictions? Melee weapons equipped by models and units with the Psyker ability also gain sustained 1. Or melee weapons equipped by models with the Psyker ability also have lethal hits. Well, there's this giant restriction of it has to have the psychic ability.
You know who has the Psyker ability in Grey Knights?
Okay, now it's saying psychic on the specific weapon, not the unit.
Oh, okay, I understand.
Okay, you're right. Almost every unit, this whole codex, is a Psyker unit. But as far as weapons that have the Psyker ability, it's still like all of them. There are, so basically like the heavy weapons teams and stuff like that, where they're like, no, but I gave up my melee weapon in order to get this sweet gun. Well, those guys, the close combat weapon, the like slap hands, those don't have the psychic keyword. So you're not really getting benefits on the little like slap hands guys. But every time you see a melee weapon, like, nope, but that's a sword and that's a halberd and that's a hammer. Every single one of those is Psyker, which is to say every attack you cared about doing something is going to do something. God. Non-existent restrictions. I love it. Okay. So anyway, this whole detachment is actually incredibly good. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite. I'm struggling between that or the Sanctic Spearhead one, the vehicle one, because the vehicle one has a side benefit of kind of being a toughness skew. Now, Dread Knights aren't like T10 or 11 or whatever, so it's not like it's crazy toughness skew, but it's better than not, right? So I struggle between which is my favorite, but also I think this one is super good. All of the stratagems, say like Grey Knight Psyker unit, which again is all of them. I don't even know why we said Psyker. There's other ones that say like Grey Knight Infantry, which again, Grey Knight character. Most of your units are doing that thing already. So almost every restriction they put in here is kind of a thing you're already doing. Like, it doesn't feel like there's anything in here that I'm missing out on. And that's why I think it's kind of my favorite. It feels good. Is it as competitive as the vehicle one? Maybe not. I think it is, but maybe that's like my bias. But boy, howdy, does it feel good all the time. So we'll see what shakes out. Grey Knights in general, I think, are always going to have a lower play rate because, again, they're that higher skill cap required. Takes, a real amount of experience to get them right. But of the players we do see playing them, we'll see which attachment they like the best. I would probably play Banishers.
So before we take our mid break, there is something I want to pitch to you. Reddit. I know you already love this
about the Reddits.
Reddit and the internet as a whole is causing a massive flurry about how terrible the Grey Knights were treated in this Codex.
Okay, now we're gonna break this into two parts. We're gonna do one before and one after. Because I got this is on my list. We're covering this. All right. As far as the competitive side or the tabletop side, let's say, the non-lore, they lost Drago. And you heard me bitch about this last week. I have no clue why in the Terminator edition, where we're updating every Terminator we could possibly get our hands on, we didn't update Drago. Absolutely lost. As far as I'm aware, there's no book that came out that said he's like hard dead forever. I just snorted too much warp dust and now he's gone. He's gone. I have no clue why. And if I'm being honest, this is one of like three things this whole edition where I made a prediction on and I was so hard wrong. I was convinced without a doubt, absolutely made no sense to say anything else. Drago's getting a new model. Not only did not get a new model, but got Legends. I'm so sorry to the customers that I convinced that was true. There is zero warning that this was going to happen. We are updating a bunch of models, and while a bunch of data sheets are getting axed this edition, mostly Forge World, but old metal and resin kits, I get it. He was an old kit, but also he's a Terminator. There's almost no Terminator this edition that they haven't decided to update and touch. Which they haven't gotten to all the factions yet, but also no, why not? Absolutely surprised. And for that reason, I totally agree. I do think the Codex is still solid.
You agree with Reddit?
I'll never admit to this. I still think the Codex is solid. I still think they have solid data sheets. I still think they're very scary.
Yeah.
I think the Codex is good. Do I think it unnecessarily got punched square in the Drago? Yes.
All right. Well, we'll go to a mid-break. And when we come back from our mid-break, you can go on your why Reddit is right tangent.
Refuse.
Well, here we are, Chris. Middle of the show. And in the great words of my co-host on another show, Ariel, feels awful middly in here. There's the cringe face. There's the cringe face.
The joke is middling at best.
So anyway, we're in the middle of the show. First thing we do.
Oh, patrons.
So a huge thank you to our patrons, starting with our Guardsman patron, Sergeant Matt. Last time you said I said it too slow. Now I gotta say it really fast. Sergeant Matt.
Look, you did it like normal right there. Just that one. That's the one.
Then we have to thank our White Shield Guardsman patrons, Mitch and Nicodemus. So thank you to our patrons. You make all of this possible. You make it so I can sit here for an hour to 3 hours with Chris every day and record this one episode.
All right, it's not that bad.
It's really not that bad. But yes, thank you to our patrons and thank you to our listeners, because without you, we wouldn't have a show. So all of the thank yous said, Chris.
You want to fight about it?
You want to fight about it?
So new releases this week. There's some Spearheads. We got Flesh Eater Court and Night Haunts, right? Pretty sure. Yeah.
Pretty sure. Yes. Night Haunts.
overall, there's a couple of new spearheads. There's also a couple of like old characters and a couple of new characters. New characters look pretty sweet. I absolutely love the little ghost guy who's like doing chemical warfare. He's just like mixing potions and like throwing them on the ground and just like, nah, that wasn't good enough.
He's all about that
I
life.
accidentally irradiated everything. It's fine. And then like, I don't want that one. So I think he's super cool. That being said, my favorite model is definitely the Falconer, which first off, they're bats, but whatever. The Falconer is the weebiest of nerds in all of Age of Sigmar. You know this because he's running around with his little birds wearing a fedora. Like, what? You're undead. First off, you don't need a hat. Half of your people don't even have like brains, right? They just like, we already took that out of there. It's fine. But just like got a little fedora. Like if the bird having like Falconer guy wasn't like weird enough, he's like, no, but don't talk to me. I gotta like, he's clearly the guy that like when his bird does something well and somewhat like leader guy's like, hey, good job. He like pulls his little hat forward to cover his eyes and you're just like, it's what I do. Like,
I love the description. He's renowned as a folk hero of sorts.
Sure. To all the birds.
To
He
all
is
the
Snow
birds.
White of Age of Sigmar. I hear ya.
So here's the thing, right? They think themselves heroes, right? Now they're doing everyone a favor.
To be fair, everybody thinks they're the hero.
Yeah, but these guys really think they're like noble soldiers fighting for the betterment
Sure.
of humanity when they are eating them.
Uh-huh.
They fight the Skaven too. Like, oh, we're all down for it. You're doing the good as well as the bad.
Uh-huh.
I just want to point out my favorite model for this army. All right.
Okay.
It's getting re-released.
I'm assuming it's not the fedora.
It's not the fedora.
Okay.
He's in the Scarlet Jury. It is in fact.
God, I hate that model.
Listen, it's my favorite just because I can picture him like in a courtroom.
His intestines.
Fluffing his intestines.
Do you think he has a comb for that?
He does. It's probably a bone comb.
Okay.
Like a hip bone, like carved out. Like
Hear me out.
It's a rib cage.
There you go.
There it is.
Again, I don't hate the idea of the model. It's very on theme.
Yes.
But also, you randomly have like a pompous judge that made the most ridiculous wig. And just no one's going to question that. They're just like, he's crazy. Let him go.
Let him cook.
Okay, cool.
Listen, I'm just saying. I love him.
Again, there's nothing wrong with the faction. Also, you may be able to tell what isn't my favorite faction in Age of Sigmar.
You don't like Grand Justice Gormain?
No.
Oh.
I'll say, is it the faction of like silly hats? You just have like the fedora next to the guy with the intestine judge wig. What is
this, Monty Python? We're the faction of silly hats.
You know what? All of a sudden, I hate them less. I actually, they're Monty Python. Maybe I do like them. Okay.
Oh God! All right, enough about the silly hats. What else we got?
So as a reminder, I know we did Black Templars last week. We're doing Grey Knights this week. Check out the Patreon. I will put up a list for both of those factions. This is not to say it's like the best list, but it's kind of like my weird take, which is even if you decide not to play it, it's good to kind of look at it and see what other people are seeing. Because right now, everybody's in flux, right? Nobody knows what the best Grey Knights is. Nobody, even when someone claims they figured out the best Grey Knights, obviously give it another like month or two. We'll adjust to the meta and then we'll see what actually shakes out. But feel free to go to the Patreon, links in the show notes, and check out those lists as well.
Well, if you got nothing else, I have things.
Go for it.
Go for it. Like Gopher Games. There it is. Look at that transition. So If you head on over to our website, it's in the show notes below, gophermafia.com. You can go and get all of the pre-orders we talked about today and in the past episodes or any of your GW gimmies. You can go to our website and it's always 15% off. This goes for all GW products. So Sigmar, 40K, Horus Heresy, Black Library, the list goes on. If it's GW, it's 15% off. That's how we roll.
It's the reason why we have no Saturday night left. We made it 15% off, and that's all that was required.
It was done, gone.
Yeah, I don't know.
We never even got it to touch a shelf.
Correct.
We
still have some of the books. We still have like some of the Mark II guys, so we still have some of that release. But we heard from, I don't remember who it was. Somebody online like messaged us and was like, "Hey, it seems like you didn't get any or whatever." And it's like, no, we got a bunch, but also it's hard gone.
Yep.
And apparently their local game store still has a bunch of it that they're sitting on or whatever.
Yep. But at any rate, come check us out. Get 15% off. In addition to that, why don't you come hang out with us? We're having a GT in October.
First weekend,
4th and 5th. We're doing our first, it's going to be annual GT.
Yes, every year.
Annual GT. We're doing our first annual Gopher Games GT right here in store. You can come hang out with us. Come talk to us. Come play in the event. Right now, tickets are on sale online. Link for that is also in the show notes. And I encourage you to come out. Have fun. We have lots of good prizes.
Yes. I still don't want to confirm too much of them because I need some more confirmation, but we have been pseudo promised, via verbal or whatever, many good things, tickets to other GTs, which can get spendy, especially since we're talking about like a super major and stuff. Also, potentially terrain model kits, etc. So
got lots of goodies. And then I'm sure we'll be throwing our own hat in there to throw some prize support their way.
Oh yeah. We might have some carrying cases for your minis. Those aren't cheap, and just kind of toss those in there.
The answer is we're going to get you some sparkly goodies.
Yes, it is our first year GT, so we are probably overdoing the prize support, but we're doing that for you guys. So come on out.
Yep. So again, links in the show notes. Hope to see you here. But other than that, I think that covers mid break.
Yep.
So let's go to the last part of our episode. All right, here we are. The last part of our episode. Now you can go on your why Reddit is right tangent.
Nope, I'm skipping that. We'll do that again. I'm upset the way you say it.
All right, well, at any rate, let's talk about some special standouts to you in this Codex.
So, as I've said before, best data sheet in this whole Codex. Dread Knight, Grandmaster Dread Knight. Play more Dread Knight. That's the answer. They're getting a new model. What's really funny is the new model comes with a couple of new weapon options. One of them I don't think I'd ever take. The other one is okay, I guess. I actually like the old weapon options better. But they're still on there, so it's okay.
Are they getting a new model? Because I've been hearing a lot of they just got like upgrade spruce.
No, it is technically a new model. They did upscale it a little bit. They didn't call it Primaris, but they made him taller. The Terminator that's on the baby carrier part, like he's true scale Terminator. So like they did upsize it some. That being said, the main thing that's like really obvious is the weapons in hand, right? They get, instead of like the sword or the hammer, now they have the option for a flail or a mace. I'm not saying they don't look cool, but I'm saying seeing these stat lines, I get why you might use the mace. Don't use the flail. It looks cool. It's not very good.
All right, let's talk these stat lines then.
The short answer is I'm gonna make this real simple. The hammer is solid on the Grandmaster. I don't actually know if I'd play the hammer on the regular ones, but that has to do with their ability, not the stat line. The sword is never a bad choice. It's the only one that has 2 different modes. Both modes are very reasonable. One mode is technically worse than the flail, but we're talking about worse by a single point of damage per swing, but you gain the other mode of strike, which is also good. Why wouldn't you take the flexibility? It is just better than the mace or the flail, in my opinion, in like every way. So yeah, sword is always a great choice. Please take the sword. Never take the dread fist, but you weren't going to, so that's fine. The demon hammer, I think, is an auto take on the Grandmaster. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure. Anyway, kind of moving on. I made a connection in reading through this that I've never made before. Do you know who Grandmaster Voldus is?
No clue.
Okay, so the short answer is he is one of the characters that came out at the end of 7th edition alongside a bunch of other crazy named guys, to include Magnus, Gilliman, Inquisitor Greyfax, like a ton of crazy named characters. And out of nowhere, Grandmaster Voldus came out alongside them. And that's not to say he isn't like cool and relevant to like some of the lore and stuff, but also compared to these other names, like Greyfax is in like a ton of books. Like everybody knows Gilliman. Like all of these giant named characters, and then Voldus, who's like kind of relevant. So I didn't really know who he was at the time that he came out. I didn't really pay attention. But as I'm kind of like, getting more experience in the game and spending more time with it, he is relevant to the Grey Knights history. Reading his data sheet, I figured out what he actually is. And I say this because going back to some videos that GW doesn't want to name, Drago is known for snorting some warp dust. Well, it turns out man's on drugs. It's fine. That's why he's unkillable. Grandmaster Voldus is the Grandmaster of the Drunken Fist. So he has the Sanctuary Psychic Power, which is to say while he's leading a unit, attacks that come at that unit are -1 to hit. So like better than stealth, but effectively stealth. And then he has the, I'm going to call it Hammer of Wrath ability, but it's like the second half of a jump chaplain. When he's selected to fight in the fight phase, you roll a d6. Depending on what you roll, you deal some mortal wounds. See what I'm saying? He's just like, he's like the drunken monk who's just like stumbling. So it's really hard to hit him. And then he just like accidentally stumbles into you really hard for some reason and breaks your nose. Like Grandmaster Drunken Fist.
Get a guy who's drunk all the time and a guy who snorts warp dust.
And these are leading our whole military force.
I don't see anything wrong with this.
Well, that's because we were in the military and it wouldn't be surprising to us.
Also, didn't they just get like a whole lore update?
We're going over that later. I don't want to talk about Reddit right now.
It just makes that lore update even better.
There's not a whole lot to go over here. A lot of this seems very similar to what it was before. The only things, there's like 2 things I guess I want to point out because they are going to be pretty impactful for those who were playing Grey Knights before and are going into this now. Castellan Crow, I need to point out he's still an amazing model. His melee weapon is the only actual weapon in this whole codex that doesn't have the Psyker keyword. I don't know if that's an oversight. I didn't go back to my index cards to verify, but also if you're going to play the Sweet Banishing Detachment, which I totally would, he's out of place because he lacks the sweet keyword. Also, the Brotherhood Librarian. I think this is actually probably the biggest impact that the Codex has on Grey Knights. He no longer has the Vortex Grenade of Doom. Now he has 18-inch Lone Op for the Unity. Not bad. I'm not complaining about it. But also lost Vortex of Doom, and that's really sad.
Now, you were talking about Crow.
Yeah.
Crow's ranged abilities still have Psychic keyword?
Yes. His Purifying Flame specifically, not the sword.
Yes. So his melee weapon has never had, well, as of this edition, has not. I just checked the code.
And I believe that is accurate, but also feels sad.
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Because, again, he's Crow. I mean, all Grey Knights, I guess, are all about like banishing demons, right? And that's why it's called the Banishing Detachment. It's supposed to like be against psychers and demons and things of that. Like, I don't have a problem with any of this. Also, to say that like the guy who's like, no, I'm going to burn demons to death with my holy flame. Yeah, but he just has like a chunk of steel. He's just walking around with a piece of rebar.
You're right.
What?
Your gun has it, but your sword doesn't.
Yeah. He's literally like belching holy psychic flame. Also hitting you with a stop sign. Like he's a gene stealer.
No, it totally makes sense. Let's go. I'm ready for this.
Anywho.
Flamethrower's magic, stop sign isn't. Got it.
Correct. Magic stop sign. I know I complained about this last week. I'll kind of say it again. This codex has me laughing about what units get a picture and what units get like the stupid art. They have never made a generic Grandmaster Terminator, right? You make them out of the box. If these were Space Wolves, they would have lost that data sheet, but they didn't because they're Grey Knights. Also, again. They didn't even like give him a picture. They could have put like literally any one of the Paladin Terminators that they didn't use elsewhere as like, no, but it's a Terminator captain. That's it. That's all you got to do. They get like the weird, silly art of like a demon head. Okay. We continue on. They have a Brotherhood Tech Marine. You're telling me the entire GW studio doesn't have a silver painted Tech Marine somewhere? Brotherhood Chaplain. He doesn't even have to be silver. He's a chaplain. He could still be black.
Nope.
All right. Anyway, moving on. With my stupid, silly grapes.
He doesn't have Grey Knight stuff on him, so it doesn't count.
I guess. There's, again, much of this codex isn't actually that different. I would argue the main change is the detachments, which got a real big boost. I'm happy about it. Most of the data sheets aren't that different. Strike Squad still has Sticky. Purifier Squad is still effectively Assault Marines. Good stuff. Dread Knights. The whole answer is play more Dread Knights.
After fighting against Dread Knights, I don't know why you wouldn't want to take them. To me, when I fought them, sure, they weren't as tough as a Dreadnought, right?
They are as tough as a
regular box Dread.
Nope, I lied. They're not. They're T8. So they are even one toughness less than a regular Dreadnought. But they're 2+, 4+, with way more wounds. So I'm going to argue they are, in fact, tougher than a box knot.
Yep.
I would even go as far to say, despite the 2 lower toughness, they are probably as tough, if not tougher, than like a Brutalis.
Well, and the thing is, like, breaking it down, like you have your Centurion Devastators, they're T7. Okay, that's pretty tough. Then now you've got these guys that are T8. Your box dreads are T9, and your
Primaris dreads
are like T10.
Yep.
Okay, so what you're telling me is I can go right down the middle, get a T8 model, and it's pretty tough, and it has more wounds than a lot of the other Dread Knight models. Yes. And it's got some decent shooting.
It has, basically, I'm going to say it has maybe not as good of shooting as a Centurion, but it's keeping up. Its melee is as good as a Brutalis, if not better.
Yep. And I don't know what they're pointed at currently in the book. I know that the current app point value for
index. Yeah.
Yeah, the index. Yeah. Current index for a Nemesis Dread is 210. So I don't know. And obviously it's a new Codex. We don't have the official points.
Yeah. According to the Codex, which again, these could totally change like the day before official release. But the Grandmaster is 225. And then the regular Nemesis Dread is 205.
So it went down by 5 points from what it currently is an index. So, but even then, your Centurions are 185. So I would pay a few more points to get what I'm getting out of that thing.
Especially
absolutely.
A few more points. You're gaining a toughness, which in itself is solid. No complaints. You're gaining net a wound. You're losing the damage breaks, to be fair, but you net gain a wound. But the most important thing is you're gaining a 4-up invul and infinite mobility. Centurions are the slowest Marines.
Yep.
And you're now going to an 8-inch move, which means faster than most things.
I think you're forgetting about the most important thing I'm gaining here, which is an actual melee that matters instead of punching like a rhino.
Centurions have pseudo power fists. They're not terrible, but they're so slow that, right? Like they're probably dead by the time that they get to swing.
Yep.
So no, I think that Dread Knights are the answer. The main reason I have heard from Grey Knights players as to why they don't play more Dread Knights is specifically aesthetics. We all joke about it being the baby carrier, and that's the only real complaint. And now that we have the new updated one, it's still a baby carrier, but you know what? Now it's at least true scale. It looks a little better. We have some more options. It's a more updated kit. I'm not complaining about the way it looks.
Yep.
Hopefully people will be able to kind of get past that a little bit. But competitively, you're right. More Dread Knight. It's not to say you don't take other things. Again, strike squads for sticky, super important. Do that thing. But Dread Knights is like your bread and butter. You need those.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want us to beat a Dread Knight to death.
All right, I'll move on. So the lore discussion time. Oh boy.
Let's go.
So a lot of people on the internet are upset that the edict of the Terminators, the reason they were founded supposedly was this big document that was like super secret and no one was allowed to know other than the Grey Knights themselves, except for like Malcador, who argued, first off, he's dead now, but also he was kind of sort of the founder, like sort of thing, right? So shrouded in mystery. They supposedly revealed what it said. I'm saying supposedly for a reason. According to them, the edict, and I'm going to paraphrase this. You can find it actually online for the like verbatim or whatever. But paraphrasing, the Grey Knights were made and ordered by the Emperor himself to effectively enslave the Emperor to the chair. So if the Emperor ever came back to life or became a warp entity or whatever, and he tried to leave the chair, their job was to effectively beat him into submission until he went back to the chair. I'm not joking. Again, I'm paraphrasing here. It's not exactly what it said, but like that's the idea.
Sit back down.
No, and okay, some of this makes sense, right? Like the Emperor is prioritizing humanity over even himself. Like this chair, the Beacon Angelus is not the Beacon Angelus. I just lost it. Anyway, the fancy name for the chair that helps all ships navigate the warp. And like he is the North Star amongst the whole galaxy. Okay. It totally makes sense. I don't even want to argue with this. I do. But like parts of this make sense. But there are so many like contradicting things here that kind of blow up other parts of the lore. And this is why a lot of people are upset. There's a whole slew of things that people are talking about as to why they don't like it or why, whatever. Here's a couple of things that I am kind of bothered by. So this is not like the full list, but this is some things that maybe there's a book that I need to read. And I could be wrong on some of this. I'm not saying I know it all. But from what lore I do know, if the Emperor told the Grey Knights to do this, he didn't trust the Custodes. The Custodes are his direct bodyguards. The Custodes are the protectors of Terra and the throne itself. Matter of fact, they're like the only ones that are allowed in the throne room most of the time. They're the ones that use the throne to go through the webway that he created to fight in there. And like, they know it all. But he had to make the Grey Knights because he didn't trust them. He's directly telling the Grey Knights that there's a very real chance, despite them being trained to directly fight demons, and that's all years of canon, that they're going to have to fight the Custodes. And that's their like secret job. Regular humans, not even like Space Marine. I want to say regular humans. That's a big stretch. But like non-Space Marine humans. Custodes aren't demons. That makes no sense.
Okay, hear me out before you continue. Let's say he came back as a warp entity.
Mm-hmm.
AKA demon.
And that's where the demon part kind of makes sense. I'm not arguing with that part.
No. But as coming back for a demon, what typically happens to the people who follow said demon? They start to become corrupted. So now you have demonic Custodes, which also I want to see a model of that because that would be bad. But
hell
also,
no. That's heresy. Yeah. My apology.
But now you have a bunch of demon Custodes and stuff. Now the Grey Knights are pliable.
Okay, but here's my main argument, right? The Custodes themselves, they have like the Black Dungeon, right?
Yep.
They have a bunch of secret horrors that most humans, if they even looked at, would go crazy.
Yep.
And they are literally the jailers of those, right? So they are around demons almost as much as Grey Knights are.
Mm-hmm.
They're just as, in theory, anti-demon as Grey Knights. Not quite as, but like, let's say close enough. They're literally fighting in the warp, in the Emperor's Webway, multiple times in their like careers. Okay. You're telling me if the Emperor came back as a demon, you think all the Custodes wouldn't look at him and be like, you're not the Emperor, you're a demon, and just try to fight them too? Like they would totally fight him, right? Because it's like, no, the Emperor is like human. I've seen him. I know what he looks like. You're a warp entity. Also, you're telling me all of those Custodes haven't like directly dealt with Tzeentch before and like wouldn't assume some amount of trickery?
True. But if I had the time, I could write a convoluted, complicated reason as to why some of the Custodes would fall and follow this new demonic Emperor. Because I mean, he could know things about them and do things, and like there could be a bunch of reasons. I'm not saying all of them, but I am saying it is a real risk. And this is why it's a real risk. And this is why I'm saying that it kind of makes sense to me that they would be in charge of that, because even though he's their direct descendants, you know, gene seed and all, bloodline, all that stuff, they're directly bodyguards to the Emperor. We've seen gene seeds go terribly, terribly south. There are chaos factions that prove that point. Preparing for the worst case scenario and best case is exactly what the Emperor does at all times.
I hear you. So now with that in mind,
yes,
I go to my next point.
Go.
The Emperor knew, with his like vast knowledge, he could predict the likelihood of him turning into a demon warp entity, right? He could predict that he would need these people, blah, blah, blah. He could predict all of this, but he couldn't predict what the Inquisition would do. Because I would like to point out the Grey Knights are underneath the Inquisition, and Guilliman has basically said that the High Lords of Terra, some of them at least, if not all of them, and the Inquisition is like not only against every edict that the Emperor ever had, but is like, no, you're kind of the worst. You're the reason the Imperium is in such a bad place.
We're about this close to calling you heretics.
Right? And like, so, I mean, he punished one of his literal sons and his whole chapter for like not following science, for turning it into a religion.
Yeah.
Well, now you have the whole Inquisition that, let's be honest, didn't just turn it into a religion, turned it into like a cult. And then also is absolutely like doing, I don't want to say heretical things, but they are doing things that are not in the best interest of the humanity.
No, you're right. And I can't argue that at all, because there's a whole chapter or faction of Grey Knights that purposely get themselves possessed to fight it off. And if they don't, sucks to be you. But if you do, now you're one of us. That's why. Why are we doing that? like, no, you got me on that one. Like 100%. You can predict everything else, but you couldn't predict this.
Right. So again, it's a bunch of these little things, right? It's not that this would be an issue if this was actually the case. It's that either this was written by somebody who like was told to write this canon and then knew enough about Grey Knights, but didn't know enough about the rest of 40K. Or they wrote this and decided, yeah, we gave people too much freedom when writing this other lore, that we're going to rein that other stuff in by contradicting it, effectively retconning it, and putting this out because this was like the original intent. Well, first off, the amount of like fandom that's around 40K is a lot.
Yeah.
The amount of like, no, but pun intended here, you wrote a book, you said this is canon, I'm going to treat it as gospel. Well, now you just wrote something that contradicts it. So like, all right, GW, who's the heretic now? Like,
you're right. I got nothing for you on this one. No arguments for me on this one.
I want to be upset about this. And there's an argument too. If I was like a dedicated Grey Knights player, I would probably be losing my mind right now.
And a lot of them are.
I get where people are coming from.
Yep.
My main issue isn't even that this is the edict, because again, parts of it make sense, right? Like he knew he might turn into a warp entity. Mm-hmm. He knew that Grey Knights needed to like specifically be able to deal with demons better than anyone else because he's about to be the craziest one.
Yep.
Like there's parts of this that could logically make sense. But also, how does the Emperor create a chapter of Marines that is effectively like either him or Malkador, let's say, are their progenitor, their like gene father, right? Again, still unclear a little bit, but whatever. How does he create them and then not trust the custodes? Like Trajan Valoris, the one custode that supposedly is still alive and is the last Thunder Warrior, the guy who precedes all Space Marines. You didn't want to let that guy know? Of like, hey, if I turn into a demon, the Grey Knights are here to help you and stop me or keep me in control, one of the two, right? I don't tell the custodes. It's literally, no, you're saying, hey, Grey Knights, not only do you have the greatest demon to fight ever, maybe, but also before you can even do that, the whole reason I created you, you're going to have to defeat the entirety of Terra. Good luck, buddy.
Hope you're ready for this.
Like, no. Now, all this being said, maybe this, like I said, this was a guy who wrote some stuff and didn't understand the other canon, so they may retcon this specific thing. Maybe this is the intent of where they're trying to go, and they're going to retcon some other stuff.
Maybe this is all just a ruse.
Yeah, maybe there's just more information to come. And while we got a little excerpt, maybe it was all a trick of Zinch, and it turns out this was like the corrupted version and blah, 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 blah. I don't know.
Yep.
We'll see.
It'd be interesting to see how this tidbit of lore is going to take us, especially when we're going into... This is a good part because we're at the end of the episode. It's a good part to talk about this. We're getting into 11th edition soon, relatively soon.
Okay, I've heard a lot of people say that, and soon is always like soon-ish.
Yeah.
Right? Because
exactly.
we know that 11th edition is going to come eventually.
Yeah.
But also, brand new edition. Let's say 11th edition comes out tomorrow. It's not. Calm down. Let's say it comes out tomorrow. Literally the day after, you're like, yeah, but we're going to get 12th edition soon.
You're right.
What does soon mean? 3 years, 5 years from now? Yeah, 5 years from now is technically soon, depending on what you're comparing it to. But also, like, are we getting 11th edition soon? Well, let's define soon. A year from now? Maybe. I don't think it's likely, but maybe.
You're
2
right.
years from now? That seems more likely. 3 years? Well, that's actually a long edition, so I kind of hope it's before 3 years, but could be 3 years still. And if that's the case, like even 2 or 3 years, how are you going to say soon?
Regardless of how you define soon, my point is it's coming quicker than expected.
Yes. So
that being said, they are ramping up the lore of 40K heavy because when 11th edition, God, I can't speak today. When 11th edition comes, much like every edition before it, there's going to be a big lore change. Big lore drop, potentially a new enemy to focus on.
Yes, much of that is true.
Yep.
I will caveat some of this with the idea of the timeline moving forward was true back in the day. And when I say back in the day, I mean like long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then that wasn't true for several editions. And then it became true again. The 8th edition, end of 7th edition timeline moving was a huge thing. People like absolutely went crazy because that hadn't happened in multiple editions. Now, again, 9th edition came out and there was like story stuff, but also the story stuff was like, we're moving the story of the Primarchs because, you know, Mortarion showed up and he's fighting Gilliman. And like, there was storyline moving, but it was very minor. 10th edition, again, storyline moving. We're kind of building up, not actually moving the timeline, but we're building up. Tyranids are the problem. They're starting to push in. We're dealing with all this stuff. Every edition has a bad guy. Necrons, Tyranids, Chaos, you know, like we all have these things and that's going to rotate no matter what, right?
Yep.
That doesn't necessarily mean the timeline's going to move.
No.
Do I think the timeline's going to move in 11th? I do. I think it's actually going to move in like a big jump too.
Oh yeah.
That being said, we have no idea where it's going to go, right?
No.
It could go with Grey Knights. It could absolutely be the first edition where it's not like Space Marine versus Grey Knights. That Grey Knights are the bad guy. Why? Because this whole thing's happening. Is that the case? I'm going to bet any amount of money that's not true. But like, it could be the infighting edition. It could be now we're against Chaos. Now we're against demons. Now we're against, you know, we got done with Necrons. Now we're going to deal with the orc problem, or we're going to like, who knows?
Mm-hmm. And the rumors have been tilting in multiple directions with different Xenos factions for this one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to humor them. You can go to Reddit and everywhere else on the internet and forums and pages, and you can find out what people are talking about. But the answer is there's been rumors towards the Xenos faction in particular. But I still think heavily with all these little lore drops that they're doing. They've done quite a few for Blood Angels. They've done quite a few for Grey Knights now. Black Templars are getting some. There's a bunch of lore updates. I think we're about to have a huge shift in the lore, which is going to result in a huge shift for your play styles and your models. And that's what all of this is gearing towards. That's why this is more than people are giving it credit for. They're giving it this little drop of Grey Knights lore. They're like, this sucks. And I'm mad about it. Now hold on.
Yeah, but it's what's to come from this.
What's to come from this? Could this be a lie? It could be. Could be a little tricky thing that they're pulling. It very well could be the truth. And now we're going to retcon some stuff that happened in order to make things that happen, big thing that's happened from now on, a huge jump. There's all kinds of things that stem from this. The importance is to take away from this is that it is in fact implicating huge things for the lore. So get ready. It ain't going to be soon, as in mark your calendars. It's in a few months, but it's coming a lot faster than you're anticipating. Get ready. Probably. We're about to have a huge shift in lore.
Now, I will say on the 11th edition front, there was some pictures that came out not too long ago that me and Sky discussed. And we're of the opinion the shift in art style is an indicator of the art style that is going to be 11th edition.
What is that? Leave us on a good one.
So when they did the character reveals, there was a couple of pieces of art that was like the Black Templar guy and things like that. It wasn't like the Codex covers. It was just random art, and it had like little symbols on it and stuff. And there was several characters that were that way, and the art style shifted. Not for like a crazy amount. Like it still looks GW and it still looks like a Space Marine and this and that. But the art style shifted, and Sky kind of jumped all over it. He's like, man, that's got to be 11th edition. That looks so different. And he's an artist, right? So to him, the little shift was a big deal. But I think he's right. I think that's going to be a shift in art style for 11th. And the fact that they're starting to use some of that art is an indicator that 11th edition, like you said, is sooner than we think.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that being said, and we hyped you all up, thank you all for listening. Tune in next week.
Hey everybody, it's Aaron. I want to thank you again for tuning in for this episode of Gopher's Workshop with us, hanging out and listening. Remember, leave a 5-star review. Let us know what you think. And if you feel like supporting us, you can always go to Patreon in the show notes below. Thanks. Till next time.